I think my coworker wants to replace me. Me and my husband are approaching our 4-year anniversary and we have a little girl. At my job, I made friends with a coworker because she was dating one of our family friends. After a few months, they broke up. So, to show her we weren't just friends because she was dating a mutual friend, we invited her over a few times. Everything seemed great until one specific event happened, setting a weird pace for our relationship. One night, we had a party and offered for her to stay the night in our guest room so she wouldn't have to get an Uber home. The same night, we invited our new neighbors over to meet them. I'll come back to that. Anyways, everyone was pretty wasted and I got a little too crazy and decided to call it early. I left her and my husband alone, thinking nothing about it. I trust my husband. Well, after a few hours, I woke up to my husband still not in bed. So I went looking for him. I found him laying on our floor in the living room with my coworker on the couch chatting. Something didn't seem right, so I told them they should both go to bed because me and her had to work in the morning. Next morning, my husband made breakfast for all of us, and I was feeling hungover, so I was sluggish. She was asking me questions about my husband and what he does around the house. After breakfast, I had put my daughter on the floor to walk around and play. She started to get into a junk drawer, and before I could get up, my coworker had grabbed her. She was acting very motherly to my child, but I thought it was because she has a son and was trying to lend a helping hand. A few days passed, and at work, she would talk to me about that night and would talk about my husband like they were lifelong friends, saying things like, quote, "Oh, you know how he can be," or "That's just him for you."
Ew.
I later went to a nail salon with my new neighbor, who pointed out that night she had noticed my coworker flirting with my husband and being too close. After hearing that, I told everything to my husband. He agreed that was weird, but he hadn't noticed anything that night but believed me and said he would distance himself from her. I invited her over a few more times without my husband there to see if it was just her personality to be that friendly. We had great conversations about life and all, but whenever my husband was brought into the topic, she would act different. Again, like she knew him. I invited her again to a small kickback with friends, my husband being too busy with his friends for me to worry about her. Another friend noticed as well that she would rush to my daughter before me. If my daughter cried, she'd be right there holding her and comforting her. I could barely take a step before she'd pass me to get to my daughter first. I was borderline disturbed. One part of me thought she was just helping, but another part felt something different. The last visit we had was when I asked if she'd watch my daughter for an hour. I had an emergency and I couldn't find anyone other than her. She agreed, and when I got back, everything was normal. We had another great chat about just everything going on at work and our lives when she mentioned a dream she had. She said she dreamt of her dream man. What she described to me was basically my husband. She tells me a lot at work that I have the perfect family and the prettiest little girl and how she wishes she had someone like my husband. I don't know what to do.
Stop being friends with her.
I think my boyfriend's brother has a crush on me. I, 18 female, have been living with my 19 male boyfriend and his family for 6 months now. I have a suspicion that his 20 male brother has a crush on me. My boyfriend works long hours and is in the U.S. National Guard as well, so there are times that I am home when my boyfriend is not. I've found that during these times, his brother seems to talk to me more often and hang around me more. My boyfriend is away right now with the military, working 7 days, and some nights he sleeps over there. Well, the nights he has slept over, his brother comes into my room and tries talking to me for hours on end. I don't want to be rude and tell him to leave me alone. I try to act annoyed or tired so he will leave, but it never seems to work. As I'm writing this now, I am with my boyfriend's family, with the exception of my boyfriend, in a car. The brother and I are in the back seat, and he reached over and tickled my thigh.
What?
He's done stuff like this before, teasing me, and it makes me super uncomfortable. I don't know how to say something to him or my boyfriend. The brother has literally told me he wants a girlfriend who is like me. Am I being crazy or am I catching the wrong vibe? Am I the asshole for not choosing to spend my birthday with my kids? I, female 37, am a mom of 4 kids, 2 girls, 19 and 14, and 2 boys, 16 and 12. My 19-year-old daughter and I got into an argument about a week and a half ago over my birthday, and now none of my kids will speak to me. My birthday was on Friday, and I had planned to spend the entire weekend with my boyfriend, because he wanted to treat me since it would be my first birthday that we were together. I didn't hear at all from any of my kids besides the casual text the whole week, and I assumed they probably weren't planning on seeing me or had forgotten. My 19-year-old was usually the one to plan my birthdays after I divorced their dad 2 years ago, but I didn't hear from her, so I made my plans and stuck with them. On Friday, I didn't get a single happy birthday text from my kids. This made me a little sad. But again, I just assumed that teenagers will be teenagers, and they were busy. They told me they were staying at their dad's this weekend. My boyfriend picked me up from work and drove me home so I could change into something nicer because we had plans to go out to dinner. When we got to my apartment and walked in the door, the lights suddenly turned on and my kids jumped and yelled, "Surprise!" Turns out they hadn't forgotten, and all 4 of my kids were there, and they had decorated my apartment with all types of balloons and decorations. I was so happy that they hadn't forgotten. And my 19-year-old gave me a big hug and said she was sorry. They made me think they had forgot. I gave them all big hugs and kisses for being so sweet to me. Then I told them about my boyfriend and I's dinner plans. My kids were upset that I wasn't staying. I apologized and told them I had made plans because I didn't think we were doing anything together. My 19-year-old requested to move the party to the next night, but I told them I couldn't because I had plans for the entire weekend with my boyfriend. They then asked if they could at least go to dinner with us, and I told them no, on account that my boyfriend does not like children.
Go on.
And him and my 19-year-old do not get along, so this would be very awkward. At this point, my 19-year-old got very upset and started to argue with my boyfriend for stealing me away on my birthday, and also at me for not even wanting to spend time with them. I tried to tell them that it was my birthday and I was allowed to spend it how I wanted, and I got to spend it with them every year, and that this year was special. My 19-year-old again started to yell, and by then my boyfriend stepped in and told her to stop acting like a brat, and then all of my kids started yelling at us. We ended up leaving and going to dinner, and I did spend the weekend with him, but my kids are very mad at this and are now staying exclusively with their dad for the time being.
Good.
Was it so wrong to want to spend my birthday how I wanted to?
Would I be the asshole for not returning a $1,000 gift given to me by coworkers because they thought I was pregnant? On my last day at my old job, my coworkers left me a goodbye card with $1,000 cash in it. This was March 2020 and I moved a few hours away. Well, last week, March 2023, I saw a former coworker who patted my stomach. She asked if this was my second and I internally died because, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm pregnant. I tell my coworker I don't have any kids and I'm just fat, and she looks awkward and I feel awkward. Well, this morning I get a call from HR passing on a message from a different coworker asking for the money to be returned because it was meant as a maternity gift. Am I the asshole for not returning a $1,000 gift given to me by coworkers because they thought I was pregnant? They said it was a maternity gift for my baby and that me being fat and wearing shirts that emphasized my belly was deceptive, and that I tricked the coworker into thinking I was pregnant. Since she took the donations from the staff under that pretense, now everyone in the office is talking about it. HR said they can't force me to do anything, but it would be nice to return it. I no longer have the card, but I'm sure it didn't say anything about me being pregnant. I'm feeling both crushed and upset that it actually wasn't a going away gift, and not once did any of my coworkers ask if I was pregnant. Am I the asshole for telling my brother that he didn't need to share that his wife was in labor in my wedding? So my wedding was days ago and my brother attended but his wife didn't because she was nearing her due date to give birth. The wedding was going great till my brother received a call from his mother-in-law telling him sister-in-law was in labor. He told me that he was leaving and my wife and I were fine with that, but the issue began after he told one of the guests sister-in-law was in labor. Word spread out and suddenly everybody was talking about it, which disrupted the event. Even my parents started calling and there was a huge fuss, which frankly was unnecessary if my brother just left in silence or made some excuse. Am I the asshole for telling my brother he didn't need to share that his wife was in labor in my wedding? I later contacted him and expressed my grief and frustration with what he did. I told him how the news of his wife being in labor disrupted the wedding and caused my wife to feel like her day was ruined. He lashed out asking how any of that was his fault, and I explained he should have left or made up some excuse. He said he meant no harm and that he was just in a hurry and worried at the time. He said it wasn't like he announced it and told me I disrespected him by arguing with him about it in the first place. Our parents are siding with him and told me to get over myself and are now expecting me to apologize.